Passport Mommy with Michelle Jerson. Motherhood is both amazing and difficult at the same time. The Passport Mommy, Michelle Jerson, is here to share in your journey.
It's amazing. It really is, just watching them grow and see how much change and how much they learn just without the filters around them.
Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
Welcome to the show. I'm Michelle Jerson, and I'm excited to have some very innovative guests on the show today. They are moms, and they are also moms with businesses. And I just have to say, from a personal standpoint, I am very much in awe of them because as a mom to a 2.5-year-old and a 4-month-old with a ton of business ideas in my mind, feeling like I have no time for any of them, I always love hearing other moms' stories. So first up, we have Angela Yeakim. She is the founder of Baby Says, LLC. She has Baby Says chalkboard shoes, which I think are such a great idea. Angela, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored to be part of the show.
Absolutely. So tell me, I want to hear all about these shoes because it sounds like something that both my 4-month and my 2.5-year-old would love and would really bring about some sibling bonding. But first, I would just love to hear from you. Why did you start this business and what were you going through at the time?
So at the time, I was at home. I was on a part-time schedule. I had stopped working as much as I did before because I was feeling exhausted. I was tired a lot, as most new moms were feeling. I had a 2-year-old at home and nearly newborn, kind of like you, Michelle. And I, how much can you cook and clean at home? Played with the kids, and there was nap time. And I thought, let me try to make some baby accessories. So I started making little baby headbands and little sandals for the baby. And my older daughter came to me and said, Mom, I'm so bored. And I said, why are you bored? She said, well, the kitty cat won't play with me. And I said, this is not a kitty cat. This is your baby sister. You need to play with her. And she said, well, I don't know how. So she would take little drawings and take them over to her while she was sleeping and said, this is boring. She can't play with me. And I said, well, give it some time. She'll get older. And I held the pair of baby shoes with me at the time. And I looked over and she was drawing on a little chalkboard. And I thought, well, it would be fun if the older sibling could draw and create little messages on the baby shoes because the soles are practically useless at that age. All you see is the soles when they're in the crib or in the carrier being held, and it's prime, sort of prime real estate to put a message for, from the mother to the baby or from the sibling to a baby. So I thought, let me go to a local craft store and get the chalkboard paint the soles of the baby shoes and see what happens. So I did that, and my older daughter loved it. She thought it was so much fun to create little messages for her baby sister. And I saw that the bonding started and she could play with her even though it was a baby. And she was, the big sister and was no longer boring. And she no longer saw her as a baby kitten. She saw her as a baby sister. So that was a win.
Right.
And then after a while, I kept pushing myself because I thought, all right, I'm not feeling well. I'm just exhausted. Everything keeps hurting. I went to the doctor. They're like, oh, it's just normal. Lose weight. That was the answer. And I said, well, I get it from maybe the lower half, but why do my shoulders, my elbows hurt? And long story short, I was diagnosed with Lyme disease after a couple of years.
Oh, wow.
And again, at the time I was thinking, should I continue with the business? Should I stop? I don't know what to do, but I thought the best thing would be for me to focus on something fun, something challenging, something that would take my mind off of feeling so upset because you have all those postpartum thoughts that usually come with a baby and just not having your energy or things falling into place the way they should. So this was a way that I could focus on something that was creative, fun. I could learn on my off time or downtime, and creating this product actually helped me pull through, keep up with the positive thinking, and I'm happy to say that the doctor told me that I did not have Lyme disease as of the beginning of September of this year. So I'm very excited for that.
Oh, that's terrific. So there's so much in there I would love to ask you. So first off, I think that's crazy that for years you had Lyme disease and the doctors couldn't pinpoint what it was. Do you know, looking back, where you may have gotten it, or it's just something that you just never know? It could have been from something years ago.
Both. It's really hard to pinpoint, but I do remember one point where I was scratching my head and I felt a little bump, and I thought, oh, maybe from working out, it's a little pimple, and I popped it with my nail, and then I saw blood on my finger, and I thought, oh, it's just one of those pimples. But looking back now, I'm thinking, I bet that was a tick.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just a type that keeps pushing through everything, and it's like, oh, I'm feeling dizzy or brain fog. I'll just keep pushing through it. Oh, my joints hurt a little bit. No problem. Just keep pushing through it. And it got to the point where I ended up with neuro-Lyme or late-stage Lyme, and things were dropping out of my hands. I had no idea where I was parking, and I was late for pickup for school and daycare. So it was very challenging and went through a lot of hard times, but I'm happy they're behind me.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say, we just moved to Connecticut, and it is a really high tick population, and it's my biggest fear. It's, my mom had Lyme disease. A good friend of hers did, and she's always pushing for different legislation around it. But it's such a debilitating thing to have if you contract it, and you really do need to be diligent. So now, with you having children and having you been through it, what do you do? Do you check them on a daily basis? Do you live somewhere where you could have ticks?
Oh, absolutely. And we spray for ticks every time they go out. I make sure I look in between the toes and every crevice. I want to make sure that they do not have a tick on them. And if they do, I know what to do, what medicine to ask for from the doctor, what sort of testing. So I guess because it's a blessing in disguise, maybe, because I've been through it. Now I know what to look for, because I had no idea growing up anything about Lyme disease. From what I was told, from what I learned in school or through random news articles, we were told that if you did get Lyme disease, you would just take antibiotics for a few weeks and you would be fine. And it seems like the CDC still says that to some patients. But I was very fortunate to find really good doctors that understood the problem and listened to the symptoms and worked through it to clear me from this disease.
Yes, congratulations. I'm so happy to hear that. And I have to give you so much credit, because as somebody who, thank goodness, right now is not struggling with anything medically, yet I have this newborn, and I truly feel I have no time to do anything. And I would love to be able to. So the fact that you had a newborn, you were going through this, and you still pushed through and started a business, to me is just amazing.
I keep joking that the more I think, the worse it is. So I kept myself distracted from thinking.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's incredible. So tell me more about the chalk sneakers. So what sizes do they come in?
They are from sizes 0 to 12 months, and they come in 4 sizes: 0 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, and 9 to 12. And 2 styles. They're in moccasins and in sneakers, and they're primarily for non-walking babies. So, like the babies that walk, you don't really see their soles, so that's why they're primarily for pre-walkers. And the moccasins I like to suggest for babies that have wider feet, only because they sort of fit like socks on their feet, and there's room for growth. And the sneakers are my personal favorite because they're just so cute. The bottom is a nice smooth surface. It's very soft. It works like a regular chalkboard. You can draw, you can write sayings, anything you want, and they wipe off. The liquid chalk marker wipes off with liquid dish soap and water. And the chalk markers are safe, non-toxic, and water-based. So they're safe for baby. They don't smear or dust like regular chalk. For example, if you can imagine, like back in the day where I don't even think, do they use chalkboards anymore in schools? I don't even know.
I don't even know either. I think somebody just posted something on Facebook that their classroom has a smart board. I was like, oh, what's that? So I'm not sure, but I do want to hear more. We're up against the clock at the end of this segment, but let's continue this because you brought up a good point that the chalk erases very easily off the bottom of the shoe, and it sounds like it does not leave a mess. So I want to talk to you more about that because as a mom, we all know how important that is. We are talking with Angela Yeakim. She is the founder of Baby Says and the Baby Says chalkboard shoes. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy. Don't forget, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Passport Mommy. And we'll be back in just a few minutes speaking more with Angela Yeakim from Baby Says LLC.
Motherhood is a journey. Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Michelle Jerson, and we're here with Angela Yeakim from Baby Says LLC and the Baby Says chalkboard shoes. Angela is an amazing mom. She started this business when she had a newborn, when she was fighting Lyme disease, and now she has these really adorable shoes that allows older siblings, or maybe you as a parent, to write little messages and designs on the soles of the feet so that the little babies, when they're in their car seats or anywhere else where everybody's looking at them, they could have, it's really a good conversation starter because I have to say that right now, my 4-month-old does not wear shoes yet. And everybody comes and tickles his feet. And it kind of like skeeves me out sometimes because I was like, don't touch my baby. So that would be a really good way. You put these cute little shoes on them. And then there's a conversation there when people see the soles of the feet.
Absolutely. And one thing that I have on Instagram is I have a post where I wrote on the bottom of the shoe, "Please do not touch my baby."
That's brilliant. I need to get these shoes from you, especially now during RSV season.
Exactly. You might as well have the baby say it, or at least the shoes.
Exactly. Love it. Love it. So tell me again how it works with writing on the shoes, what the materials are, how easy they are to clean, to write a new message.
Sure. So, the chalk markers are liquid. They're dust-free. They're safe, non-toxic. So when you write on the shoe, once it dries, which takes less than a minute for the liquid chalk to dry, you can touch it. You can just put your hand all over the writing or the drawing, and it won't come off. And that's great because it won't go all over the shirts, the clothing, the sofa, the car seat. It'll stay put until you wipe it off clean with liquid dish soap and water. So it's definitely safe for babies. And the beauty of it is that it works like a regular chalkboard. So if there is, like when you write on a regular chalkboard, there might be a little ghosting. So it's authentic and it works great. The other thing is that I mentioned chalkboard is that the chalk is dusty and it's just messy. The liquid chalk markers are not like that. So it's wonderful and clean for moms and safe for babies. And I want to add, Michelle, that I really admire you that you have a newborn and have time for radio shows. So I admire you as well.
Thank you. Well, he's laying right next to me, and I just pray that he enjoys just laying there because there have been many shows where he makes an appearance vocally as well. And so it's always a balance.
And that's always welcomed, I'm sure.
Thanks. So how do you, I mean, you're an inspiration for other moms, like you were mentioning the postpartum, some depression, some feeling, every mom deals with postpartum differently, plus your Lyme disease. What kind of words of advice can you offer to moms?
So word of advice is that a quick story, we were at Chick-fil-A at one point when I was feeling my worst, and I looked at my two daughters in the play zone, and I said, come here, let's take a quick picture together. So I put my sunglasses on, big smile, all three of us, and the thought behind it was that I thought those were my last days, and I wanted them to have a picture of their mom, all of us with big smiles. And thinking back, it still bothers me, but I'm glad those days are behind. But one thing that helped me was that it's good to see the world through a little child's eyes, to see how amazing and wonderful the world is. My oldest, when we were at Ocean City one year, said, Mama, look at the waves. And I said, oh, my God, that's dangerous. Come back. And she said, but the ocean wants to play with me. And I said, well, wow, that's a positive spin. And I thought, we can learn from children. They're positive. They see the good. And if we all thought more like children, I think we would be better off.
I think you're absolutely right. I have to say that there are things that have been upsetting me just personally, whatever. We all have our things. And just last night, I thought, you know what? As upset as I am about X, Y, or Z, look at my children. Thank goodness for them, and thank goodness they're here. And I feel so blessed. And I do have to just keep looking at that. So even if other aspects of our personal lives aren't exactly where we'd like them to be, or maybe far from it, we do have to count our blessings that we have these wonderful beings that look to us as their universe, the same way that we look to them.
Exactly.
Well, you are an inspiration, Angela. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Where can people go to read up more about Baby Says and to order the Baby Says chalkboard shoes?
Oh, absolutely. You can go to babysays.com. And if you'd like to use a coupon code to save 20% off, you can use the code NEWFRIEND, N-E-W, friend. And we're also on Instagram and Facebook on social media, but the best place to get it is on babysays.com.
All right, perfect. Well, I'm going to be jumping on your site. I love it. I think for the winter season, any mom that wants to put a little message right on the kids' shoes. And if you want to tell people, hey, don't touch the feet, I'm sure you could think of something really cute to say so you're not being mean about it. And you know that everybody is going to look at the soles of the feet because they always do. It's the first thing they look at when they're looking at your baby in their stroller. Coming up next, we have Shannon Jones. We're going to talk with her about her love of travel. She's been traveling since a young age, and now she is a children's book author to Kiki's Big Adventures. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy. You know I love to travel with my littles, so we're going to talk with Shannon Jones coming up in just a few.
Passport Mommy with Michelle Jerson. Motherhood is a journey. Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
As you know, I love to travel, and I always said my life is not going to end when it comes to traveling just because I have children. And so I had a girl 2.5 years ago. We traveled, we did Italy, we did a lot of trips within the US. Now I have number 2, and I think I still want to hold on to that. And so I'm hoping to do so, but I'm thrilled to have with me today Shannon Jones, because she also has a love of travel and is now an author to Kiki's Big Adventures, where she has talked all about her travels and used that to just start a great children's book collection. Hi, Shannon.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you.
Sure. So tell me, I was on your website yesterday, and I love that you have a children's book, you have a podcast, you're a writer. How did you get started with all of this?
Oh, boy. Well, it goes way back. My mom was a flight attendant when I was little. And so I started traveling when I was young. And it had such a huge impact on my life that when I grew up and was living in Amsterdam, I was actually there on an assignment with my marketing job and was there for 4 years, moved there with my husband and my real life cat, Kiki. Mm-hmm. And we actually, as we were talking to our friends and sharing our travels with them, the kids really wanted to know what Kiki was doing. So we had the idea of creating this cute character that could really bring the world to kids and inspire them to want to explore and open up their eyes and ears to the world. So Kiki's Big Adventures was born, and it all started with a book series.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And how lucky are you that you got to travel so often when you were a child because of your mom? Do you have any really good memories from that travel? Like, what stands out the most?
I do. It was just, it was great because back in those days, traveling, flying was not like it is today. And, the pilots would let me sit up front in the cockpit with them, which was just the coolest. And, my first big trip memory is when my parents took me on a cruise, and we went on, back then it was like the Norwegian, NCL. It was the biggest cruise ship. And it was just, such an experience. And there weren't a lot of kids traveling. It wasn't, traveling on cruises isn't what it was, back then. Now it's like all geared towards family. But I just remember staying up late and going to the all-you-can-eat midnight buffet with my dad. And, they let me hang out with they had a theater crew that was putting on Hello, Dolly, and I hung out with them all week. It was an amazing experience. So, and just going to different ports. And when I was in high school was actually when we took our first trip to Europe. And I said to myself, one day I want to live here. And just living in Amsterdam was such an amazing experience. It's such a wonderful, wonderful city, and you can travel everywhere from there so easily.
Yes, I love Amsterdam. It happens to be one of my favorite cities as well. And I love that so many people are on their bicycles there. And if you have little ones, to just put them on the back of your bicycle and go, how great is that?
Oh, it's so great. It's such an easy city. And I'm so happy to see people really embracing it and it becoming, one of the great places that people want to travel now. Because when we lived there, this was 2000. We lived there from 2006 to 2010. And just, I think in the last 4 or 5 years, it's really come on. And Kiki's Big Adventures in Amsterdam was my fourth book because I didn't think that, we went Paris, Rome, Athens first to get people engaged with the character because Amsterdam wasn't as big as it is today. And I just on my podcast this week had a mom who just spent 3 weeks in Amsterdam with her 3-year-old and her husband. And she was just talking about it's such a family-friendly city, too, like you're saying. Biking with kids, the parks, the cafes. It's just it's not the Amsterdam that, that people used to just think about. It's just got so much to offer. It's really a lovely place.
It's so much so. And we could talk more about Amsterdam and Kiki's Big Adventures in Amsterdam, but I want to talk back up a little bit. So I saw on your website, your real life Kiki, and then the character of Kiki. And I think it's brilliant. And I think it's so cute. So your first book, tell me again, was Kiki's Big Adventures where? In Paris?
In Paris. Yes. That was her first adventure. And what I like to say to people is, Kiki's Big Adventures is for moms, families, kids who love travel, adventure, and exploring the world. So whether you want to go there, you have a dream of going there, it's just a really great introduction because it's an all-animal world. And, Kiki lands and she travels the world in a hot air balloon, as, cats do.
Right.
And she lands and she just explores. And each book, she makes friends. She sees, the top sites. There's, culture, food. We also put language throughout. So the idea being that, by the end of reading the book, you can say, bonjour and merci and have, a few of the key words of the language. And also, what I hear from moms and everyone that reads books with little kids is gosh, if I have to read these books every night, at least I get to go to Rome or Paris or Athens or, you know, the new one that we've got launching in November, London. So it's fun to see the kids who have been turned on to, you know, just trying new foods, trying new places, carrying the books around when they go to the cities. I just had a mom, you know, send me a note of they went to Rome this summer and, you know, they were going out to see the Trevi Fountain that day. And Xavier wanted so bad to carry Rome with him so he could take a picture holding the book open with, you know, the Trevi Fountain. And the parents, of course, were like, we're not carrying that book around all day. But, you know, that it's just inspiring children to want to explore the world in these cities. And that's the whole purpose of, you know, what we've created here with Kiki's Big Adventures.
Yeah. And I think it's brilliant. And you know what? I would let my daughter, you're welcome. I would let her or my son walk around with that book because why not? What better way to learn and to be able to teach them all about travels, even if they can't get on a plane and go there right now, to expose them to the different cultures and to some of the language. I mean, I just think it is so great and in such a fun way with such great characters in the book and the illustrations.
Thank you so much. I mean, Casey, our illustrator, is just amazing. And, you know, even for like the new one coming out with London, she lands and she actually meets William Shakespeare.
I saw.
Who, you know, takes her around the majesty of London and, you know, Big Ben and Buckingham Palace. And there might even be, you know, some royal culture in there and some proper English tea. But, you know, she's just making friends and exploring the city in so many different ways. And I think, you know, that's what I say, whether it's, you know, you're going or you just want to expose the children, your children to these places. I think it's just, I think it's a great tool, but I also hear that from, you know, moms around the world, actually.
Yeah, exactly. So how did you first start when you first wrote your first book? How did you get it out there?
Okay. So, gosh, we could talk about that for hours. I actually, so I'd always wanted to write books, and I have been in marketing for about 25 years now. But when my assignment was over in Amsterdam, and my husband and I had this idea for Kiki's Big Adventures, I said, all right, I'm going to take the time to, you know, write this book, because we thought a book was a good first approach to the character. Mm-hmm. So I actually read a book about how to write children's books, how to write children's picture books. And I read it several times, did the exercises. I joined the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. I, you know, just started writing and, you know, making connections to get, you know, feedback, get editing done. And, you know, that process took, you know, quite some time. Ultimately, you know, I met some editors at the big houses, and we, you know, decided to actually start a publishing company to bring it to life. So we actually started Calisthumpian Press, and we found, you know, an editor from New York. We did an illustrator contest and had over 50 illustrators from around the world submit sketches of Kiki. And we wound up, you know, we wanted to pick an up-and-coming illustrator that could be with us on the journey of what we're creating. And so Casey is, you know, been with us the whole time. And we, you know, found a printer. We actually print the books in the U.S. And so we just, you know, built this village to bring the books to life. And my husband and I, being in marketing, you know, that's such a huge part of it that, you know, we realize we can do this on our own. And it's just been such a fulfilling journey versus, you know, just kind of handing your idea over to someone to, you know, create it. We've been able to create everything along the way, and it's just been so rewarding.
That's amazing. So do both of you still work in marketing as well, or is this your full time?
This is my full time, and my husband has his own agency. So we like to say that Kiki's Big Adventures is a client of his. This is, you know, what I'm doing full time, and we've just had so many now that the books have been out there and, we've built this audience and following, I just get from so many moms, hey, we're going to go to Paris, or we're going to go to Rome, or, some of the places that Kiki's been, and, oh, can you give us more information? So, we've decided to, we've really, and you probably saw this when you went on the website, is expand it to have more resources. So, beyond just reading the 40 pages of the picture book, here's real life Paris and what you can do. And, I started this family travel podcast. We just launched last week, but to bring travel moms on and to talk about their family adventures to help inspire others. So just really trying to, create, which I know you understand, this travel community where, you can be inspired to plan your family's next adventure. So growing into this side of Kiki's Big Adventures has been really exciting. And we're thrilled about everything that's to come.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great platform, and you really have built quite a business. And that's my biggest frustration is my husband's in marketing, and I say, hey, you know what? Can you help me out? Can you help? Because I have this big plan of, this whole business around what I'm doing. He's like, no, I have to focus on what I'm doing. We can't be business partners. And so I think the fact that you two have worked together to launch this business, that speaks volumes about what couples can do if they're, on the same page together.
It really does. And I think we've got, we've found through working together through the years that ironically, we actually worked together both in marketing at Starbucks Coffee Company. And that's how we originally met. So I think that was kind of the way we started our relationship, was colleagues and friends. And so we recognize the strengths that each other bring to the table, and we play off those. And then, bring in other people too when we don't, admitting that we don't know something and we need to hire someone else to help us do it. So I think that's kind of key.
Exactly. And so is Kiki your child? Do you have any other children, or is Kiki your baby?
I do not. My children are cats. Yeah.
Nice.
Yes, I always say, that what Dr. Seuss did. You have the children and I entertain them. My cats and my creativity.
Right. Which allows you. Right. And that allows you to travel so much, because I have to say that, again, how I started this segment about my goal of not slowing down my travel just because I have kids, it's not a reality. As much as I would like to say that, it could still be really difficult. But I would love to talk with you some more and just hear more about the different places that you've traveled, some of your favorites, and maybe where you do recommend for families, even though I know Kiki has been to Paris and Amsterdam, and I would just love to hear some of your family-friendly ideas for different destinations if people are trying to figure out where to go next. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy. More coming up in a few.
Motherhood is a journey. Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
Here with Shannon Jones. She loves to travel. She is a woman after my own heart, and she is also the author of Kiki's Big Adventures. They are wonderful children's books that introduce children to all different destinations, everything to do there, including some basic language and the must-sees when you're in a certain place. So Shannon, tell me about your favorite place, and where do you think are some really good family-friendly destinations?
As I've been talking to moms, and as I've started the new Kiki's Big Adventures family travel podcast, it's been really fun to go deeper on many of the cities. Because what you'll find in the book, it's only 40 pages. We hit the highlights. You can't do it all. I think it all depends on the size of, the age of your children. I was just talking to a mom who was just in Paris. They did a bike tour, which she said was just amazing. This was just this summer. They took some some really curated guided tours of the Orsay. And the great thing that Bike Tour did was let them go through the Louvre, and it took them to the Eiffel Tower. So I think, these cities like Rome and Paris and even Athens, which you could technically do in a few days and hit the highlights, and getting a local guide to show you around is really the way to go.
Yeah.
And then kind of tacking on, maybe adding on a more relaxing side of the trip where, the kids can be in the water, be in the beach. I have a mom who was just in Spain and Portugal, and they did Lisbon for a couple of days. Then they zipped out to the Algarve down south, and so the kids could go to the beach. They were in a beach town. They did kayaking trip, of the caves. So being able to kind of marry a city destination for a few days with, something even, where you entertain the kids with the city, but then you kind of take them to something where everybody can relax. I had another mom that just did Rome, and then they went to Tuscany, right? So, but even in Tuscany, they were able to, they stayed at a great little Airbnb, and they took cooking classes. They did a family cooking class. And then the place they stayed also had babysitters, so mom and dad could go out at night and enjoy some of the restaurants in Tuscany. So
that is key.
Yes, exactly. It's really, being able to, and I'll give them to you, but a couple of the moms that have been on these trips recently have found some really great babysitting resources when they've been in these towns. And I just think it's nice then, right? Because you can have your time, but also, your family time, but also be able to get away as a couple, which, I think makes the trip even more enjoyable. And when the kids are asleep, why just sit in the hotel room or in the Airbnb when you could go out and have your own dinner?
I agree 100%. And, at first, when we first started traveling, I thought, oh no, we're here as a family. We should do everything together. And then I thought, there is so much we can't do with them, or like you said, even just a relaxing dinner, because we don't know what relaxing dinners mean anymore. And so to be able to enjoy that while you're away, I think you have to give that to yourself. It is a gift. If you're doing that trip, make some time for yourself if you can.
It really is true. And that's just a theme I've been hearing from all the moms this summer on their trips is, just putting together a combination of those things so that everybody gets something enjoyable out of the trip, wherever you go, right? It doesn't have to be Europe. It could be, Florida or wherever it is that you're traveling to. But those are some of the fun. I also had a mom that was just in Hawaii and did Oahu and Maui. And so, they did kind of the more busy things on Oahu, Pearl Harbor, and, they did then on Maui had a bit more relaxing time.
Right. Exactly.
Combining those things.
Yeah. We just went away for 2 days to somewhere very close, the Rocking Horse Ranch near where I live. And we needed a vacation beyond a vacation when we got back from there. And it was just, when you have little ones, it's just, they say it's a trip. It's not a vacation anymore. And so to be able to have that mixture, I think is so important. Where can people go to buy your book?
The current 4 books are available anywhere books are sold. Amazon, you can go to the Kiki's Big Adventures website. November 19th is the launch date of London. And we'll actually be in New York at the Camp store. It's like a super cool place.
Yeah.
And then you'll be able to, wherever books are sold, November 19th, you'll get your hands on the new Kiki in London book.
Again, everyone can check out the website, Kiki's Big Adventures, to just read all about everything you have going on, podcasts, books, and the new launch. Thank you so much, Shannon. I appreciate you joining me on Passport Mommy. I'm Michelle Jerson. Have a great rest of your day.